Over the last few days, I've been to 2 live music events, most of which was excellent. There was just one thing which wasn't quite so pleasant. Now, this all began on Friday afternoon when I was using the conveniences at my workplace. And while sat in a toilet cubicle, I got a message from a local rock band, and I'd wanted to go to their show, but it had sold out much faster than I had anticipated. But long story short, their usual merch guy couldn't attend, so they asked me if I'd mind standing in for him. And sat in this toilet cubicle, I went, yes! And then realised that now several of my work colleagues think I'm extremely enthusiastic about evacuating my bowels. Now, the gig itself was taking place in a small rural village, very similar to the one I grew up in, so whatever I say, I don't mean it to be malicious. But I imagine that having a rock band turn up there once a year is the absolute pinnacle of the social calendar. Aside from that, it's just going to be ritual sacrifices and incest. So on Saturday evening, I was driving to the venue along tight, twisty country roads, and then suddenly a fog descended upon the area. And I thought, great, my evening's now part of a fucking Stephen King novel. And I'm just an incidental character. I'm the merch guy that never showed up. The next day, my car will be found, headlights still on, door open, and a trail of blood leading away from it. But I got to the village okay. And in the daylight, this place is very picturesque. Church steeple, village green, all that sort of thing. Throw some snow at it and you've got a Christmas card. But I got there in the evening. And then it's a bit more like a cross between Deliverance and The Hills Have Eyes. Luckily, by the time I got there, it was raining, so I thought, well, at least the locals can't burn a Wicker Man this evening. And before anyone had said I had to squeal like a piggy or that I had a pretty mouth, I noticed a local woman was staring at me as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. I thought, come on, love, you've seen a fucking car before. I was here last year. But I think she was disturbed by the music coming from the stereo. I was listening to Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion 1. That album came out 28 years ago, I think, so it probably hasn't got to The Village yet. People there are going to be fucking shocked when they find the Beatles have split up. But the gig itself was brilliant. The band was on fire, great atmosphere, everyone had a wonderful time. And I gained much more respect for people who work on merch desks. Because after the gig, you're essentially trying to sell clothing to people who are unbelievably drunk. And this doesn't happen anywhere else. I've never thought I need to get some trousers, so I'll go to Marks and Spencer's. But before I go there, I'll throw 9 pints of ale down my fucking neck. So I found what you have to do is just try and pick out the odd words you can understand. Because it's medium. Medium, mate. You want this shirt in a medium? I mean, if you think you're going to fit into a medium, you're lying to yourself, and we both know it. But it was a great night. Unlike trying to get through security last night, when I went to see the excellent Hailstorm in concert in Nottingham. Because the guy running the security on the way in, if there's a company called Wankers Are Us, he's on their books. Pricks for sale, whatever. This guy came along screaming at the crowd, "This is the women's queue! Men need to queue that way! Men that way!" So everyone was going, all right, mate, keep your fucking hair on. Wandered up to the men's queue, where he was then getting very animated because we were meant to queue the other side of the barrier, until someone pointed out to him, that's the fucking road. And he then walked around complaining that we weren't organised enough. I thought, seriously, mate, that's your bastard job. When I finally got to the bit where you get patted down to check you've got no weapons on you, it was this guy again. And he looked me in the eye and asked me the weirdest question: have you got anything in your pockets? And I found myself thinking, no mate, no, not at all. I've come out with no wallet, phone, keys. I haven't even got any fucking tickets. I just like getting shouted at in queues. So I went to take my wallet out of my pocket, and as I removed it, he then tapped the pocket and went, "What's that in there then? What's that in there?" So I looked at him and said, "Does it feel like a set of keys?" And he nodded and said, "Well, that's what it is then." And then when I walked past him, I called him a prick. Not as good as the guy behind me, because this angry security guy was screaming at him to turn out his pockets, and the guy said, "How does fuck off sound, dickhead?" But it got me thinking. I was waiting for Mrs. Disgruntled to come from the segregated women's queue. Why would someone like that, with so few social skills, want to do that type of job? And I bet it's the only time he feels that he's got any power. This will be a guy who spends 3 or 4 nights a week in the garden shed making model aeroplanes while his wife's in the bedroom entertaining lorry drivers. He'll be there fighting back the tears with the radio on, trying to glue the propeller to his model Focke-Wulf F198, and he can still hear the headboard smashing away in his own bedroom. And when his wife's finally satisfied and lets him back in the house, I bet he has to sleep in the wet patch, and all that keeps him going is he knows he can shout at strangers when he's working security. The gig itself though was a hailstorm, and they were epic as ever, and anyone who knows me socially will know my opinions on Miss Lizzie Hale, the singer and rhythm guitarist, because she walked out on stage wearing PVC boots and a black leotard, and to be blunt, I can't remember anything other than that.